Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge we all need for building a great life.
After all, you'll only get one that we know of.
Yeah.
So you goddamn better make the most of it.
You damn tootin'.
Damn Skippy, let's do it. Well, Uncle Dan, we have a really fun show this week.
We do. A lot of good stuff. One of the things, we're going to jump in and learn about the planets and the stars.
Ooh, the music of the spheres.
Yes, we're going to study astrology.
The bullshit from beyond.
Watch out for woo on that one.
And then we're going to have an oppression expression that is not going to be super fun to talk about, but it needs talking about.
It needs to be talked about. And then as a palate cleanser, we're going to talk to Eli Bosnick, who is a fellow podcaster who and just great fella.
If you don't know who Eli Bosnick is, welcome to your first ever Skeptical Podcast listening experience.
Yeah, exactly.
But you'll know him soon enough, and we're super happy to have him on the show.
Yeah, he's great.
All right, let's roll.
Let's do this show.
Well, friends, it is once again your semi-weekly guide, a word of warning that we like to pass on.
Yeah.
And Uncle Dan has a very particular kind of woo that is more widespread than maybe it ought to be.
It's a very popular woo.
Which woo are we watching out for this week?
It's one of the wooiest of the woos.
Yeah.
Today we're looking to the stars. I don't know if you've felt it, but Mercury's in retrograde. And
right. That's what's happening.
That's why the things.
Oh, man.
Right?
That's why I'm having a real case of the Mondays all week.
Everything's so explained now.
Oh, it's because I'm such a Virgo.
It really is. So
don't be such a Capricorn about this.
Here's the thing. People have been looking to the skies for answers for millennia.
Yes.
Literally thousands of years, people have been looking up at those stars and asking the question, what do they mean about me? Like, yeah, they're pretty in the sky and they twinkle and whatever, but what does it say about me?
What does that infinite expanse of things that just happen to be stacked up in a certain way from this particular vantage point say about me?
Those rocks and burning gases out there in the universe.
What does it say about my future mate?
Or my farm?
Yeah.
Like, when should I plant? I don't know. How about, do you know Beetlejuice? So yeah, I mean the ancient Egyptians had an astrology, Hellenistic Egypt, Greece, Rome,
of course, which is where our current predicament comes from.
Yes, indeed. Hindu, Islamic, all of these people had their own versions of how the planets and the stars affect us.
The Mayans were particularly incredibly cognizant of the motions of the heavenly bodies and what that augured for people. Now, I credit where credit is due to a lot of these primitive brothers and sisters. There weren't a lot of other answers available.
Indeed, there were not.
Right.
They could make up a god, or they could look at what's out there and just go, maybe that means something.
Right.
And to be honest with you, the study of astronomy, which is the scientific study of the stars and of the heavens
and of big rocks in motion,
actually was pressed forward quite a lot by the thoughts of astronomy, or astrology rather, because they wanted to learn more and more about like how to make better and better predictions about our lives. So they studied the shit out of the sky.
Right.
And every now and then somebody would, Copernicus would come along and be like, hey, wait a minute.
Or Copernicus.
Copernicus. Copernicus.
Yeah.
Copernicus wasn't actually his name.
What was his name?
It was some Polish name.
Oh, fuck that
guy. But then he Latinized it because that was super trendy at the time. Right. It was so hot right now.
Right. All the alchemists were doing it.
It was super hot. And somebody would actually figure something out about the sky, and then everybody would go, that fucks with all of our religious thoughts and everything about what we think, and then they get burned at the stake, and then everybody'd be like, well, but he was right though. Yeah, famously, when you stuck your head out of into the gap between the astronomy and astrology foxhole, right, you could lose that head. Yeah. It was not without danger that people challenged the orthodoxy of things like a geocentric universe. Right, exactly. But even the geocentric universe was a very sophisticated idea about the universe vis-a-vis, if we're comparing it to astrology. Right, yes, indeed. The geocentric universe understood that these weren't just flat things against a ceiling. Right. What we were observing in the sky. Which was the biblical view. The biblical view starts with, in the beginning there was the heaven and the earth, and it basically describes sort of a lens-shaped cover over a flat earth, and in that are set stars. The firmament is basically a big bowl. It's a word for ceiling. Right. Yeah. And you poke some holes in it, and then you can see through, and there's the stars or whatever. They didn't always have it right. No. But by the time some really smart people started looking at it, they started to figure some stuff out. Now, there are some people who are skeptical that the motion of the stars and the alignments of the planets actually portend things about our individual lives and what's happening here on this little rock as it spins around the sun. Yes. And I will say that these objections go back also ancient. Cicero, for instance, pointed out that two twins aren't necessarily the same types of people. So to say that, every Taurus is the same. Yeah. You're losing people. You're losing us because we know for a fact that all the people born at the same time do not have the same personality. But there's a workaround. There's a lot of workarounds. The rising sign. Let me tell you something. Yes, it's all workarounds. Right. It's easy to work around. But I will tell you this: when you study out, when I started to look, just for fun, I've never believed in astrology, but just for fun, I've been told my whole life I'm a Leo. Mm-hmm. So I check out what a Leo, somebody's got a book lying around. Okay, what's a Leo like? It nails it. I am the definitive Leo. Right. For sure. Right. That does not prove that astrology is right. Right. What that proves is that I have a lot of those qualities. Well, and that if you take an entire human personality and break it down into 3 sentences, right, that you're going to hit a lot of people with that dart, right? Well, not only that, but so when people who deeply believe in this stuff go to someone who can work up your chart. Yes. And you mentioned what we should talk about, sort of astrology as it's practiced now. I think most of our listeners will be aware of the Zodiac, which are sort of what they've done is they've sort of divided the sky into 12 houses. Or whatever. Yes. Yeah. 12 segments. And wherever the sun is at the moment of your birth, whichever of these segments the sun's in. And some of the constellations themselves are way bigger than others. So they've borrowed from space from some of the constellations to give to other constellations so that the segments are the same size. But anyway, whatever sign the sun is in when you're born, that's your sun sign. Right. And then there's the moon sign and a rising sign, and that's why your desk is messy or your shoes are stacked in order or whatever. Why you can't get along with your sister. It's all part of that. Yeah. And yes, this is to do I will say this. No one has ever even really attempted to explain what mechanism might be guiding all of this. No one's ever said why they think this might work. They just say it works. Right. But if you want the in-depth stuff, you got to go to an astrologer who will work up a whole chart for you, and they'll figure out all of the things. Like you have to go in with the exact time and date of your birth
and place
of your birth, because 2:30 here in Salt Lake City, Utah, is very different than 2:30 in Australia, and it would fuck everything up if we don't.
I don't think they even have 2:30 there.
No, it's upside down, so it's like you have to read it backwards. Yeah. But so you go to your astrologer, they work up your chart, they tell you all sorts of things about yourself. Now, one might be tempted to say that all of the things that come in, one of the things that happens with all of the woo is that human confirmation biases and all of these other interesting biases start playing out.
Sure.
You really glom onto all the hits. Anything that actually jives with what you think of yourself.
Or what you aspire to be.
Right, yeah, exactly.
You're a champion for your friends or something, and you're like, I want to be that.
Right. So that makes me feel really good to hear that. And, and you're a tender-hearted person, but a lion when you're in a fight. And you're blah blah blah, you're and any of these charts, and there may be some misses in there too.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how good our brains are at like ignoring the misses and just holding on to those hits. Anything that feels like a hit, I believe it. And you get 6 or 7 of those in 12 paragraphs, and boy, it starts to feel like they know you personally.
It's almost like an astrologer who's going to do your chart is a cold reader with a cheat sheet.
What? What? How dare you, sir?
It's almost like, okay, you give them this formula, and which they hand you back a series of things off a worksheet, right?
Right.
That's like, Virgo's this, rising sign this, da-da-da-da-da, and then they can probably see what you're responding to.
Right. And, this has been worked out over actually centuries. So an astrologer, all they do actually have to do is like work out exactly when you were born, and then they can just sort of give you the written, the doohickey, and again, it may well feel like it super applies because you'll ignore a lot of the things that don't apply,
right,
and just be like, maybe that's a little less, but oh my God, they were so right about this thing. I am an actor. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I am a performer. This is so.
I do care about my friends.
Right, exactly. Holy crap! How did they know that?
I hate evil.
Right. So what part of what I'm getting at is that, and I believe this is true of much of the woo in the world. The practitioners, the people that people pay to get this stuff, a lot of the time they really do genuinely believe in it. It's not that they're trying to trick you. They think that what they're giving you is true.
Yeah.
And they've got 84,000 clients who all have confirmed for them, oh yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I had years ago, I had a friend who one of his side jobs was he was an astrologer.
Oh yeah.
And he also did tarot and all that kind of stuff. But he was as serious as a heart attack about it.
Yeah.
He thought this was all real, that this sun that's 93 million miles away, when it was in this position vis-a-vis this planet, vis-a-vis this cluster of stars that are light years apart, but look stacked up, and that determined, if you were going to be in a long-term relationship.
Right, exactly.
And he was serious.
Or if now was a time to take that leap and maybe quit your job.
Right.
Like, it's so...
and people take that seriously, and they do that.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And what's funny is that people have objected to those claims also going back into ancient times. Plotinus, I don't know how to say that, another Roman, I think, said that since the fixed stars are much more distant than the planets, it's laughable to imagine the planets' effect on mankind should depend on their position with respect to the stars. So, like,
wow, he had some deeper understanding of the mechanics of the universe.
People have known for a long time that, like, it's kind of crazy to ask heavenly bodies light years away from us what's going on in my life.
I mean, it's almost like if this whole chicanery was based on the seasons, Right.
Well, here's the thing. You know what's funny is that when I was like in my 20s or something, I had read a thing about Leos and was like, fuck, that's so me. How is that so me?
Right.
How did they nail it so fucking hard? Because I don't believe in this stuff. It doesn't make any sense to me that something that's, hundreds of millions of miles away or, billions of miles away could have anything to do with me.
Right.
So what could be it? And I thought to myself, wait, what if the season that you're born in, because if you're born in winter, then the first 3 months of your life you spend mostly indoors, or and then you spend the next few months outdoors, and like those are really formative times in your brain development.
I think there's a better argument for that,
except that would mean that a Leo in the northern hemisphere is the opposite in the southern hemisphere. So
or a Caribbean Leo is a different thing entirely, or a Saharan Leo.
Exactly. Right. Or an Alaskan Leo is a different thing. So what I've finally come to is just like, I happen to have a lot of the traits that line up with that.
And I probably do too.
And you're no Leo.
No.
You're definitely not a Leo. But yeah, a lot of those same traits apply to you, and a lot of the traits that aren't Leo apply to plenty of people who were born around the time of my birth.
Right.
Now, of course, there are ways of throwing, there are wrenches to throw in the works about the fact that, like, all the descriptions of Leos and of Virgos and Capricorns and stuff were originally written thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
And things in the sky have changed positions since then.
Since everything is fucking moving at insane speeds.
Right, all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, what was, if you were born in August 2,000 years ago, the sun was in a different position relative to the stars than now.
It's off like more than a house, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the thing?
And there's like the 13th astrological sign that's been sort of batted around. So, like,
what's that? What is it?
It's called Afragafana. It's called Murfendurfen. I don't remember what it's called. It's a word that's unpronounceable to the human.
It's Howard
ear.
the Duck.
And what's funny is that there was a big hubbub that came out about that for a while, and adding more crazy to the crazy doesn't change the crazy. It actually doesn't change it.
Throw it on the pile.
Yeah, just have some fun with that.
Well, here's a question I have.
Yeah,
is okay. I don't think I ever heard either of my parents, and I never heard my grandparents say what sign they were.
Oh, really?
So, no.
Okay.
So
that's because you never hit on them
in the bar.
Hey, baby.
Hey, Grandpa. This is a theory, and I need to look this up and see if this is true. Okay. I have a feeling this all kind of exploded with the New Age and even with the hippie generation, especially with the hippie generation.
Yeah.
Do you think guys in World War II were telling dames at the bar what their sign was? Like, that seems unimaginable.
No, because Mercury, because we were headed into the dawn of the age of Aquarius, and that's a time that was of more enlightenment vis-a-vis the stars. Back then, they were in the dark ages.
We were in the age of Himmler.
Right.
So I just don't think that was something that people in the Depression did, right?
No, I mean, they were focused on, like, eating.
Right, eating a bowl of dirt. But so it's funny that it's kind of a lot of the woo that we struggle with in this country, especially right now, came with the boomers in the 60s. And
I think they started, publishing astrology, your horoscope in the newspaper every day, and people started to think, oh, that's fun.
Yeah, that's
true. You know what I mean? Like, when that starts happening, everybody's like, oh, that's fun, but then 4 people are like, oh, that's real. and then it starts to take off. Here's one thing that I've noticed in the world. If you go around and you just say very confidently to people, this is true, you get a few people who believe you, and then they go and say confidently, this is true, and then religions start. Like, this just keeps happening over and over. It is a thing that humans do.
Yeah.
If somebody's confident enough, somebody's going to go, oh,
well, there's
shit.
The world
that's real.
is made up of all kinds of people. Some of them, Leos, Scorpios, but
Sure.
But there are people who want to follow. Not everybody is a leader. Now, I'm a Scorpio, so I'm a capricious, manipulative prick.
Right.
And that makes me a leader these days.
But good in the sack.
Well, yeah, so good. Yeah, there's just people that want to follow. Like we talked about the People's Temple a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And that's one of those ideas that it's like, okay, and they end up with, thousands and thousands of followers, which is nuts.
Right. But I think one of the things that I read your horoscope if you want to, if it's fun for you.
Yeah.
And the other thing that a lot of these sort of tell you what to do in your daily life, woo things do, is help you make you make your own decision. You don't think you are because somebody's like, ooh, now's a good time to be cautious, or ooh, now's a good time to be strong and bold. And then what people do, all people, when they hear that is either I feel, that was just the boost that I needed to be bold.
Right.
Or I'm too afraid to be bold right now, and then they choose not to anyway.
It's almost like getting advice from a friend.
Right.
That then you choose to follow or not.
Right, exactly. You can listen to it. You can read it and say, oh, that is interesting.
Yeah.
And then let it either guide you or not. What the fuck? Do you.
It's okay to have fun with it. I think it's
right.
But not Ouija boards. That shit's real.
We're doing that later.
We should do a Ouija board on the show.
We should totally do that. Oh, we're gonna do Ouija live.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be fun. But in terms of the sky, it's just a bunch of like
gas and rocks and nothing. So leave it the fuck alone.
Leave it. If you need to navigate the world and you don't have your GPS on you, maybe the sky can be helpful.
Sure, if you have your sextant.
Yeah, if you've got. I mean, I graduated to an octant myself.
Octant.
I'm a little more high tech. But yeah, I mean, if you need to find north, Polaris is still out there.
Yeah.
But as to like decisions you should make in your life, you're on your own, buddy.
Yeah.
That's watch out for woo.
All right, let's move on.
Well, Uncle Mark, not every news is good news out there in the world.
No, sir.
Sometimes we have to explore some oppression expressions.
That's right. It's we like to have fun on this show. We like to have a few laughs.
Oh, we have fun.
And we often have laughs at the expense of the faithful and the crazy.
Yeah.
But it's fun to make fun of it, but in other times it's just really shitty.
Yeah.
And
upsetting.
So we do a little.
Let's do that. Let's go shitty and upsetting today.
Let's do shitty and upsetting before we go to Eli, and hopefully he can pull us out of the pit of despair,
the muck and the mire.
So this week we haven't done this in a little while, and we're not going to do this every show. But
thank God.
This week we're going to talk a little bit about an oppressed group, and they are atheists.
Oh. It am us.
They're our brethren. This is a particular subset of atheists in Bangladesh.
Oh, don't do that.
Yeah. So these comrades of ours,
poor unfortunate souls that they are,
have been singled out in recent years for attack. So Bangladesh is a 90% Muslim country,
and it is in South America.
That's right. Well, it's close.
Okay.
It's on the eastern side of India. So it's near.
Same thing.
Right. There's a lot of countries that are shaped the same. So
yeah.
Vietnam, Peru, it's all, you get it. So it's a 90% Muslim country with a constitution that guarantees secularism, interestingly enough. Yeah.
We're safe.
Yeah, so everything should be good.
Everything's perfect.
Hold up the following statement if you're ever under attack in Bangladesh. It says in the preamble, pledging that the high ideals of nationalism, socialism, democracy, and secularism, which inspired our heroic people to dedicate themselves to and our brave martyrs interesting word, to sacrifice their lives in the national liberation struggle shall be fundamental principles of the Constitution.
The pillars that hold up their fine society.
Right. So
theoretically.
Technically, it's okay to not believe there.
But according to that Constitution.
A brave 1% of people in Bangladesh have come forward in polls to say that they are not even atheists, but just to say non-religious.
Right.
So a little backstory is in order. Bangladesh was part of the of British occupied India,
yes,
as was the entirety of India and what is now Pakistan. In 1947, when the British left, it was divided up.
Right.
After some violence and fracas, and it was decided that the Muslims would recede to what is now Pakistan and Bangladesh. Pakistan on the west, Bangladesh on the what was.
It was a very, very sloppy solution to a problem that was sort of manufactured.
Anytime you see a British person leaning over a map with a pencil, knock it out of their hands.
Right. Probably kick them in the balls.
Knock it the fuck out of their hands because they're about to make a rack.
They're going to, bad things will happen.
Yeah, the mistakes are being made in real time. So that's exactly what happened. And at the time it was called East Bengal, and it was part of what would be Pakistan.
Right.
So that went on for a little while. There wasn't a lot of love there between India and Bangladesh and between Pakistan and East Bengal.
Yeah,
so in 1971, there was a war of independence, and it was nasty. And Bangladesh, after a really nasty struggle, managed to free itself from Pakistan and became an independent country.
Okay.
Cut to these days. So what's happening is there are, you know how it takes society a long time to come to grips with a major national trauma.
Yes.
Like, for instance, Americans, people fly planes into buildings and we just go berserk and attack all the wrong places.
I mean, it's a hobby.
But other countries like Cambodia have taken a while to kind of come around to deal with just an absurd national trauma.
Right.
Like the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, who it's taken years and years and years for trials to ever even begin, and a lot of those guys just died off.
Right.
But they did get a few of them. So that's what's happening in Bangladesh. Is there is a national reckoning with some really hardcore Islamist groups and Islamists who sided with the Pakistani army in the country to defeat the nascent democracy of Bangladesh.
Right.
So they're finally having this national thing. And I don't know about the level of fairness in the trials or how the population generally looks at that, but what ended up happening as a result of these trials were some riots. And these riots, called the Shmodiac protests in 2013, were a result of some of these really nasty characters getting life sentences rather than the death penalty, which is still an available option for war crimes in Bangladesh. So
people wanted them to be killed.
The criminals were Islamist extremists. So,
but the people calling for their death were probably also Muslims,
more moderate Muslims,
right?
But it appears from my research that some of them were these secular bloggers and activists and atheists. Now, I couldn't find if any of them were actually demanding the death penalty for these people, but they were definitely demanding harsher sentences, and some of these guys actually walked. So that's what fomented these riots.
I see.
And it was after these riots that a number of these secularist figures on the internet there started getting macheted to death.
Yeah, there were a few that were just sort of being, I mean, this is mild compared to outspokenness on our show. I mean, our show is like the nicest of the atheist shows in the U.S. We would definitely be macheted.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, let's take a minute to realize the incredible fortune we have to be able to sit here and bitch about, your Mike Pences and your Pat Robertsons. And now let's hope that maintains in America.
Yeah, who knows?
But it certainly is even in Bangladesh, where you have this protection as a secularist, you don't have this protection as a secularist, and laws have started to bubble up, and this is where it's important to watch for these lines being crossed.
Right.
There are laws against offending the feelings of religious people.
Right.
And
that's something that happens quite a bit in the Muslim world, actually, and also like in other parts of the world.
In Russia.
Yeah.
Putin has passed these laws and they're very open-ended.
Yeah.
Like so this is what happened to Pussy Riot. Right. They went into that church to make a statement more about Putin than about the church, even though they're in, hand in glove.
Right.
And that's why they got thrown in jail for offending religious sensibilities.
Yeah.
So it's a very open-ended law that can be used by very irresponsible governments. So during the protests, one secularist, a guy named Ahmed Rajib Haider, was killed outside his house. They did catch the guys, they claim, that did it. That was kind of one of the first ones. The original murders happened in 2009, and by 2016, I believe there were 6 secularist bloggers and activists killed.
It became less popular to be a secularist blogger at that point.
Yeah.
People sort of did it less.
Right. And so, this is an ongoing problem. I found this message board where it appeared Bangladeshi atheists were giving advice. Somebody asked, what's it like to be a public atheist in Bangladesh? And I hate to laugh, but the answers were kind of insane. It was like, oh, it's great. Just never tell anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Never put your picture up. Don't use your real name.
Yeah. One was I told my friends, a few of my friends, and they said they would kill me. So I moved away for a while, but now everything's fine. And I guess if that's okay in Bangladeshi atheist adjusted terms, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So one of the more recent ones, sorry, I lost his name. One of the more recent ones was this 26-year-old guy named Samad, who was macheted.
It does seem to be the atheist killing implement of choice.
Yeah, dude, it's insane. So he was the first one killed after Al-Qaeda, Bangladeshi Al-Qaeda, declared war on all Bangladeshi atheists. So it's pretty hard.
It's not a great place to not believe in somebody.
Not a great place to not believe, but you can't help but credit these people with this impulse to try, as they see their society slide towards kind of an Islamist Sharia state, even where they're guaranteed their right to free expression,
right?
To not speak up.
No, I would be. This podcast would be over.
Totally.
If we heard that that Heath and Noah had been macheted because of their atheist,
well, first I would suspect Eli.
Yeah, well, I mean,
yes,
that's a good point.
But if it was shown it wasn't Eli, then we'd pull the plug.
Yeah, we'd be gone. We'd be gone before we knew it really happened.
I would.
If it was a joke, we would be gone.
I have to drive like 3 miles to come to the studio. That's martyrdom to me.
Yeah.
So I great respect to our Bangladeshi atheist friends and their community, but it is like many places in the world. There's places in the world where being atheist is absolutely illegal.
Yeah.
In much of the Arab world, and there's people there, trying to speak out, but it's pretty fucked up and terrifying.
When you're gonna when you at least risk losing a hand or something just for saying it. I mean, in Islam specifically, if you were a Muslim and then you leave Islam, apostasy, according to their book, the correct punishment for that is death.
Right.
And there's still a lot of Muslims that hold to that.
Yeah.
So, and we see that playing out in Bangladesh.
Right.
So thanks for that heartwarming bit of fun.
Let's, we'll kind of keep an eye on this situation, and hopefully, as the world seems to be going a bit crazier than we'd like it to be, hopefully this tide will turn. But if you're in Bangladesh or somewhere like that, please be safe. And
make sure that you're listening to us in a way that you can't be tracked.
Oh, God, yeah, seriously. So anyway, take care out there.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Well, Uncle Mark.
Yes?
You know how we ask people, as nicely as we know how, to give us money for free?
Please give us money for free. It's not for free.
It's in exchange for goods and services.
Exactly.
Or mostly just...
I don't know which this is.
This show.
Yeah.
And, of course, this show is free, and that's fine. If you want to just listen to it for free, that's your prerogative.
It's free, but it ain't cheap.
That's true. And there are people who are willing to foot some of the bill for that. And we need to thank them. So this week's Patreon donors that we wanted to thank... in no particular order except that a secret order that only I am aware of.
Right. This is based on some astrological charts.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Our new Patreon donors are Caitlin, Christian, Laura, Mary, Marissa, and Bethany, Kent, Emily, Leslie, and Cindy.
That is, you know what I love? That is a strong female field.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
We got some ladies.
Yes, thank you.
Love from the ladies.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah,
That's
thank you
incredibly
guys
kind.
so much. If you can't donate to us, if you don't feel like you're able to, at least go on to iTunes or whatever your podcast app of choice is and say something nice about us in the reviews.
Yeah, if you want to give us 5 stars, if you want to give us some shitty stars, the show is Scathing Atheist.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead and put 1 star on there if you want.
But 5-star the hell out of that one show called The How to Heretic.
Yep.
Otherwise, if you would like to join the ranks of these beautiful people who are helping things out, please feel free to go to howtoheretic.com and click on the Patreon button, and you too can become our hero.
Yes, please do. We're grateful for the support, and we'll happily keep yelling at the internet for you.
Love your buns. Moving on. Hey, Uncle Mark.
Uncle Dan.
We every now and then we get someone funny to come onto our show.
To bail us out.
To take some of the pressure off of us.
Yeah.
But this time instead we decided to go with Eli Bosnick.
Ba-boom! Ba-ba-booey! We're very, very fortunate to have the not yet late but very great Eli Bosnick of, oh my God, The Scathing Atheist, the best podcast on TV, god-awful movies, the Skepitcrat, there's one more, the Citation Needed.
Yeah.
The 4 podcasts, this motherfucker.
It's too many.
He's the hardest working man in the podverse. Eli, welcome to the How to Heretic.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate having you out here. You and your fellow Gam boys helped launch this show.
I sure did.
You will always have a special place in our hearts.
And you guys have been crushing it. I've been looking, and everybody loves it. I've heard so much buzz. People have messaged me to be like, I don't know if you guys have heard this new, and I'm like, oh, I was there the day they promised it our way. So,
that's awesome. Yeah. Really, that's awesome. Good
and this is such an amazing show.
Thank you.
Aww.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we wanted Eli to come on because, again, he's one of the midwives of this show.
Yeah.
But also because Eli just has so many amazing stories. One of them is his own.
Yes.
And
the Eli Bosnick story.
We would like to help let the 10 people in the atheist podverse who don't know who he is know who he is.
Yeah, indeed. We're introducing you to nobody, because everybody who's listening to this probably knows who you are. But
oh, no way. There's definitely someone who passed by my podcast and clicked on this one. And to you, I say, hi, I apologize. You made the right choice. You really did. I get it.
So let's start with a little background on Eli Bosnick, because one of the things that fascinates me about your story is that you, unlike so many of us, you grew up Jewish.
I did. I grew up a pretty religious Jew. In fact, my father was a Hasidic, which you people will recognize as the weird beardy Jews that are always wearing black. My father was known as Lay Hasid, which means that he didn't wear the beard and he didn't wear the black and he didn't wear the fancy hats. But
I thought that was called undercover Hasid.
Yeah, exactly. Undercover Jew.
Sneaky Hasid.
Yeah, exactly. Stealth Hasid.
Yeah.
Flying over Iran just every so often. But he was a Maimonic scholar, so I grew up in a fairly religious Jewish household. I like to say that my father was Jewish and my mother was wooish. Because I grew up with sort of half crystals and homeopathy and half Judaism and Deuteronomy. So it's a nice mix.
Oh, that sounds so wonderful.
You got all the things there.
You got the chocolate and the peanut butter.
I don't think at that point are you allowed to eat anything?
No, pretty much. It's just like it's free range kugel. It's all you're allowed. Right? The matzo balls are salted with the tears of native peoples. It's a whole thing. I didn't.
Yeah. You got latkes made of kale at that point. So talk to me about your trend. So you went to like Jewish school, is that right?
I didn't go to a Jewish school. I went to Hebrew school after school.
Oh, okay.
For a little while, which was sort of like Jew training.
Right.
But I wasn't a very good Jew. Because there was a lot of study in Hebrew, and I just wasn't. I was more concerned with normal sort of American schooling.
Right.
And then I got into college, and I started sort of tooling around on YouTube, and I watched a couple of debates on YouTube. And then really what happened is I saw Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot. And I remember it because I know a lot of people don't have sort of a turning moment of positivity. Most people were like, and just as the preacher was reaching inside the gold he had stolen from my grandmother's lungs, I thought, you know what, I don't think this guy is great. But for me, I actually had a positive experience. I saw Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot on YouTube. Someone had animated it.
Oh, yeah.
And that line, the author Dan Meth, the animator Dan Meth, had animated it. And the line, thousands upon thousands of confident religions, just sort of stuck in my brain and began to wheedle its way in. And from there, I found the Four Horsemen. And from the Four Horsemen, I sort of found a community. And then these guys that I worked with also had an atheism podcast called The Scathing Atheist that I started to listen to. And it sort of brought me more and more slowly out of my faith shell until about halfway through college, I realized that I was an atheist. But that moment in Pale Blue Dot was truly a turning point for me. It was the first moment where it felt like, and I'm not the first to use this metaphor, where it feels like your head comes out of the water for a moment. Yeah. Like you immediately go back under. But that first moment where you're out there and you're like, oh, what's this air? Nope, I don't like it out here. And you go right back, it's warmer under the water. Okay.
But then all you can think about is that air, right?
Right, exactly.
It's just on your mind.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's a bell you can't really unring.
So when you were a kid, you actually, I don't know if we've ever had this conversation. When you were a kid, you actually were personally faithful.
Oh, very, very, very faithful. My father was a Maimonic scholar. I was a very serious, as serious as a child can be, Torah scholar. So I spent a tremendous amount of time studying the Torah and the Midrash. I sort of pulled my family more towards religion when I turned 13 and was bar mitzvahed. My parents didn't eat kosher at the time, and I decided I was going to eat kosher, and I was going to do tefillin twice a day, which, if you don't know what tefillin is, it's magic ropes that look exactly like S&M gear. It is very upsetting.
And a tiny, tiny hat.
Gear is, call me. But and a tiny, tiny hat, exactly. And you wrap yourself up in these things, and you say your prayers. And so I started doing that first, and that got my family more and more religious. And then I left, and they were sort of stuck still in there. I sort of led them into the maze and then left them behind.
You're like, bye, guys. Have fun finding your own way out.
You took them to the rave, and then you drove off.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. I didn't know that you were quite serious. So that's why when you guys reviewed the amazing fish heads on Gamcast, you related pretty closely to those kids.
To Agent M?
Agent, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, is that what they're called?
Agent M is a disturbing of my childhood. Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So then at some point along that journey, too, you discovered that there was some value to humor, apparently.
Yes. So I wasn't a super duper funny kid. I was actually a little bit sensitive and a little bit fragile. And then my parents sent me to summer camp. And when I was a little kid, I was like probably 8 or 9 years old. And
summer camp always works out really well for the fragile ones. Yeah. That's always the best place for them.
Exactly. And it went exactly that way for me. So I was really badly bullied, and I missed my parents. I was an only child, so I was a total mama's boy. And I didn't like being away from home, and I was away from home for 4 weeks for the first time ever being away. So it was really bad. And the other kids in the bunk didn't like me because I was crying all the time. And I was just sort of left on my own and sad. And there was a talent show at the end of the camp period.
Was this a Jewish camp?
No, this was an acting camp.
Oh.
Yes, this was a theater camp.
I would think that crying all the time would be par for the course at an acting camp.
You'd hope, right? It turned out not to be the case.
Oh.
In fact, this is a horrible side story, but one of the counselors of my group, not of my direct bunk, but one of the counselors of my group, got fired for molesting a bunch of kids.
Yikes.
And we found out about this years later, and I realized that he had molested everyone in my bunk but me. It's 100% true. And I remember having this insane moment of being like, oh.
So that you lived that scene from Happiness where the kid's dad said, "I fuck all your friends, but I won't fuck you."
Yep.
Oh, wow, dark.
Right. So
and comedy.
And that's 100% true. So they had this talent show, and the talent show was a roast, right? And it was like, oh boy, Counselor Schmanderson sure does eat a lot of hot dogs. Ha ha ha. And everyone was like, ha ha ha, right? And I got up there. I knew my parents were coming, and I got up there. I waited and waited and waited. I got up there, and everyone went up and did like a minute and a half. I went up there, and at 8 or 9 years old, did 10 solid minutes of the meanest, bluest material that anyone's ever done. George Carlin would have shot himself in the head with a T-shirt gun at this material, and it killed. It broke, because I was a 9-year-old just talking about cum sluts and shit. And it just came pouring out, just like Magneto in X-Men. The gates bent and the doors flew open. And literally, I did like 10 minutes of this material, and the counselors are just standing in horrified silence in the back wall while I do this incredibly blue, vile, angry material. And my parents walked through the doors, and I said, okay, I'm done. I'm never coming back here. And I literally just ran off the stage and was like, come on, let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Just left all your shit. Let's go. I'll get new shoes. Doesn't matter.
I got new shoes. And since then, being funny at other people's expense has been either a hobby or a job.
Right. Well, you got to go with what you know.
Yeah. I can't believe they didn't deploy the striped hook at some point and just drag you off to Buffalo there.
Right.
Wow, that's awesome.
Well, that's amazing. So now you're podcasting, and you're out there in the world. You're an activist. You're a what do I want to say? Well, you're an advocate for many things.
I would say, like Kevin Sorbo, he's one of the world's top atheists.
Yes.
I am one of the world's top atheists.
A leading atheist.
The rankings. I mean, I'm up against Dawkins next week, but I've got a bye, so I might see him in the championship.
Tough bracket. That's a tough bracket.
I hope to one day be on the undercard for one of your fights. I'm definitely like lower on the totem pole, but maybe someday I'll work my way up to the big leagues.
But truly, you are one of the hardest working men in Big Atheist, right?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot, and I do it because it's a great community to do it for, and it's the best job in the world, so I tend to do a lot of it.
Indeed. Tell us a little bit. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about with you is that you have sort of at least in the real world, if not a little bit on your shows, you've talked a little bit about mental health. And I just read a thing this morning about a suicide problem, according to HuffPo, within atheism. Now, I don't know if it's actually if atheists are more suicide-y than Christians or whatever, but there is a problem when you leave religion and you don't have any you don't have a magic friend to help you out. You're kind of on your own. And I know you've suffered from depression, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that and have your experience with depression.
So I have been diagnosed with depression since. So I was diagnosed with depression starting at 11 years old, and I've been medicated for it and have been working with that condition since then. And in some ways, you're right that depression does make some parts that atheism does make some parts of depression harder. Mourning is much harder when you're an atheist. Breakups are much harder when you're an atheist because you don't no longer have the idea of a soulmate, right? And just generally feeling lost and purposefulness. Just generally feeling lost and purposeless are harder when you're an atheist because there's no one who's drawn a series of dotted lines that you're going to follow to, follow God's plan or whatever it is. So those things can be much harder. But in many ways, it's been easier. As religious as my upbringing was, I was very lucky in that my family was very medically aware. And so I got therapy. There wasn't a stigma around medication. My mother is medicated as well. So I knew it was a condition you needed to handle. And one of the things that I try and do, both on and off the air, is normalize it, right? Because most people, 99% of the people who ever hear my voice, they will only ever hear me do comedy.
Right.
You won't hear me say serious things. But in the context of that comedy, I talk about the fact that I have depression and that I overcome it. And they can look at me and go, well, okay, that guy's got a bunch of listeners, or that guy's super funny and he says he has depression. And I think that's because when you first get told that you might have depression or you first exhibit the symptoms of depression, you're told that depressives are Eeyore the donkey.
Right.
Right? And they can't be comedians. They can't be funny people, right? They can only be like weeping mimes in the corners of small rundown community theaters. But the truth is, funny people deal with depression too. And in talking about it and joking about it, I take away its power, and I let a lot of people out there know not only are they not alone, that people that they might admire or whose work they might admire deal with some of the same conditions as them, but I'm also very, very open about my medication. And the sort of catchphrase that I repeat over and over again is take your fucking medication, because, no matter what level of religiosity you come from, you do need that reminder that cultural mores of overcoming the pills or not needing the pills or easing off the meds is just not something you can do. And when you embrace that and realize that depression and mental health are conditions just like diabetes, and you wouldn't let your diabetic friend be like, I'm good on the insulin today.
Right.
I'm having a good day. I did some sit-ups, a nice, beautiful walk, so I'm just going to skip. Don't skip your insulin shots, and you wouldn't skip your meds. And so that's one of the things that it's important to me to communicate, is that you're not alone and you do need to take care of yourself.
There's one advantage that I see to being an atheist with depression, and I also have been diagnosed with depression in my life. But one of the advantages that we have is that we get to rely on science. We don't have to, because there's this thing in religious culture where depression ends up being a
spiritual failing.
A spiritual failing. It's a moral failing.
Yeah.
And we can look at it and say, I have X number of disabilities. They're not visible to other humans, but just like a guy walking around with only one leg, I have disabilities. I am differently abled than other people, and there are ways that I can compensate.
Right. And
for
what
that.
would that guy do? He'd get a fucking artificial leg so he could walk around.
Or crutches or something. He'd find a way to operate as happily as possible within society. And that's all taking your medication or doing whatever therapy works for you. That's all that is.
Now, a pastor doesn't tell him to pray about it.
Right.
Or a family doesn't tell him, you need to learn to be grateful for God's graces.
Right.
Right. Which, if you have clinical depression is like saying you need to be grateful for the leg God gave you. And you're just looking and you're like, it's not there.
Right.
I promise.
Right, exactly.
It is
No,
not.
nobody looks at one-leggedness as a moral failing.
Right.
Well, it depends on how you got there, but I'm pretty judgmental about amputees. Now, I have not been diagnosed with that condition. I'm perfect, not unlike you, defective people.
Right, of course.
But I grew up in a household that was extremely affected by the confluence of religion and mental illness. And, one of my parents is an undiagnosed, probably at least depressive person, and the cost to the family and our happiness it was just horrendous, because in Mormonism of the time, and in probably a lot of religions, especially, in the 70s and 80s, every failing was a spiritual failing. A lost leg would have been a spiritual failing.
Right.
And so there was no clinical help. So it was just prayer, and it was nightmarish. So, I think a lot of those people, when you come out of religion, if you're somewhere in the mental illness spectrum, if you have depression, you're not only losing, the placebo, you then don't know how to seek help, and you don't think maybe you should.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. That is combined with the fact that mental health terminology gets abused in our general culture, right? And religious sects use that, right? I mean, I think we have all seen that friend on Facebook who's like, depressed today, send puppy pictures,
right.
And you're like, no, I don't want to be that person, right?
Right.
And like that, and especially if that person doesn't actually have clinical depression, if that's just like a term they've used to describe when they're sad, it can make it even harder to get treatment, because you fear, oh man, I don't want to be in the non-treatment category, but I don't want to be, so-and-so from high school who posts about how depressed they are every third day, and then that night is like, never mind, I'm not depressed anymore. I've never gone to the doctor about it. And it's,
right.
There is a balance of those, and it makes it hard from both ends, to be in the middle and deal with a medical condition.
Right.
Right.
It's a tricky one. But I love your take your meds message. I feel like it's because this isn't something that you just beat. You don't fix it and then it's over. For some people it ends. For some people they stop being depressed. But I love the notion that this is something that you can just treat and it's fine.
Right.
Right. And you can be somebody who is a respected person in a large community, right? Like Heath.
And the other thing that people don't understand too is that they think that they weren't depressed during the better moments of their lives. Right? You ask people when they were depressed and they go, well, I know I wasn't depressed at my wedding. I know I wasn't depressed on my honeymoon. I was depressed when my dad died, or I was depressed when they find the times they were depressed. And that's not true. You were diabetic at your wedding. You were diabetic on your honeymoon. You were lacking a leg in 4th grade and you're lacking the leg now. And you learn to be happy in those moments, right? And there are bad days and there are good days. There are days when you have to work harder and there are days when you have to work less hard. And it is work too. I mean, that's one of the things that is the hardest to learn about mental illness, is because it takes place inside your mind. You got to do that CBT. You got to practice your mindfulness. You got to take your meds. It's not like something where you could just sit in a chair and a doctor gives you a vitamin shot. There's no penicillin for depression. It's something that you deal with and conquer inch by inch, year by year.
Right. Well, we're certainly glad you're conquering yours, because we really like what you do out there in the world.
Yeah, and I want to ask you one more question, Eli, which is, that comedy that started as from a mean-spirited place, it still kind of exists in a bit of a mean-spirited place occasionally on the Gamcast. So in what we do in talking about religion and what you do in talking about, how religion presents itself in this world, what do you feel like the value of mocking it is?
I mean, I think it's important for people who need something that's for them. They need to hear those taboos broken. right? I mean, even the fact that and this is something we've heard from listeners over and over again, even the fact that we swear as much as we do is cathartic for some people, who grew up getting slapped if they swear, or who grew up getting punished if they swore, or someone who, never heard someone make fun of Jesus before. And there's sort of that shocking, giddy moment you had of getting in trouble as a kid.
Yep.
But also, I think our show, and Noah really created this environment, and we follow sort of in those footsteps, is we say the things that you spent years thinking, right?
Right.
When someone was in church talking about Job, and then and where were you when I created the whirlwind? And you were 6, and you went like, that's fucking bullshit. We go, that's fucking bullshit. You're like, oh, finally I get to hear someone talk about how bullshit that is.
Right.
Because when I told my aunt, she punched me in the stomach and told me I was filled with demons.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not only, especially with Gamcast, the crap ideology that undergirds these movies, but then just the absolutely garbage agenda forward earnestness of the movies is so delicious.
I'll never get tired of watching Christian films. Never. Every time I think I've hit a new low, I find Christmas with a capital C, which is the movie that we're doing for next week, and will probably be out by the time this episode airs. But it is based on a Christian hip-hop song that is a man yelling at a clerk for saying Happy Holidays. They made a movie with Alec Baldwin's brother about yelling at people for saying Happy Holidays.
Oh, my God.
It is
Stephen
amazing.
Baldwin's in it?
No, the other Baldwin, the one who looks like Alec in old man makeup. And
Daniel Baldwin.
Daniel Baldwin.
Oh, my God.
And it is amazing.
What is fucking wrong with that family? Oh, shit.
Yeah. I have no idea what happened to the Baldwins. I feel like they played a game of crazy roulette. Like they each took a shot of crazy pills and they loaded it into the thing of a gun. And then Steven, right before he pulled the trigger, he was like, wait, was I supposed to put it in all the barrels? And then they all got the dosage to different degrees.
Yeah. It's just some of them got extra Jesus in the pills.
Well, for all of our sakes, I hope that the Baldwins and that Kevin Sorbo live forever, because this crap is just a beautiful life to watch this garbage.
Indeed.
It's quite a thing. Hey, thanks so much for coming out and chatting with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
Any fucking time. And Eli, do you want to let our 4 listeners know where they can find you?
That's right. So when you're done with these nice guys and you're ready to get into Mean Town, you can check out God Awful Movies. We make fun of all the movies that upset you as a kid. Scathing Atheist, where we make fun of the news. The Skepitcrat, where we make fun of politics. And Citation Needed, where we make fun of Wikipedia. It's not religious, but you need a break every now and then from the religious stuff. So
yeah,
you check.
Awesome. All great shows. Well, Eli, thanks so much again, and thanks for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Well, friends, that's it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you guys. Send us an email if you'd like at howtoheretic.com.
Or if you're not a filthy Gemini, you can leave us a voicemail at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986.
Thanks again to our patrons. If you'd like to become one of them, please feel free to go to howtoheretic.com and click on that Patreon button.
Yeah, you can also go to any of the places you hear this podcast, like iTunes and Stitcher, and maybe leave us a good review, because that love goes a long way as well.
Yes, indeed.
And thanks to Cody Layton for editing the show.
And thank you, dear friends, for tuning in.
Bye-bye.
Love ya.